Welcome to the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon video series. I am your host, Captain Matt, and today we're going to talk about center consoles. We're going to compare various center consoles that are available in the market today. So we're going to start with the 60 plus brands of center consoles. It's a very segmented marketplace depending on where you do your boating, what type of fishing you're involved in, what kind of water you're in is going to impact some of the brands that you're going to look at, the types of boats you're going to look at. We're going to talk about value, mid-level, and luxury brands. We're going to talk about choices you need to make on center consoles, and then important quality factors as you're looking at various areas of the boat. So, of course, we're brought to you by the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon Toolkit. You can watch all of our videos. We're getting hundreds of thousands of views on the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon channel. You can get the toolkit at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/toolkit. It's a great tool for going through the buying process. If you're a brand new buyer, if you're looking to trade up to the next boat, there's a ton of great stuff. So let's look at all of the different brands that are out there. Now, this is from Discover Boating. These are just the brands that are registered with the National Marine Manufacturer Association. It doesn't account for all of the brands that are local and regional brands that may not be in here, but there are, I think, 62 or 63 that were on this list, and there is a whole bunch of them. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about which brands would equate to value, which ones are in that sort of a mid-level, and then I separate this into luxury and quality. So they're kind of synonymous, but there are some boats that are extremely well built that aren't built to a luxury standard, but they're some of the best built boats on the marketplace. They're built for durability. They're built for ride. On the luxury end, it's more of the appointments, and I think fancy when I think luxury. So let's look at the four big choices you have when buying a center console. The first one is, are you going to fish it? Or is it going to be your family boat? We're going to be cruising with the family, doing some water sports, going to restaurants, going to the sandbar, to the island. Or are you going to do both? That's one of the first things you need to think about, is how you're going to use the boat. Next is, and partly will be determined by how you're going to use it, do you want a Ttop or do you want a Bimini or no top at all? Next is going to be the layout and the quality. So if you know you're going to fish, you want to make sure that you know what type of waters you're going to fish, what species you're going to fish for, and that's going to help you with the layout. And then you're going to think about, okay, what's my budget and what is my personal standard for quality? Do I need to have the best quality on the market, or am I willing to have kind of that mid-level, or is the level of quality, I want a good solid boat, but I want to save money and I want that value model. So that's a decision that you'll need to make. And then finally, the horsepower and the performance. Some of that will be dictated by the size of the boat, but are you a speed demon, or do you want just a boat that's going to perform well and safe for your family? So this is in no particular order, is the luxury and quality. Yeah, Boston Whaler, Grady White, they've been in the industry forever. Creval, Blackfin, Pursuit, Regulator, Edgewater. And again, we talked about there are so many different brands, and they are so segmented into the specific type of boats. You know, a Creval is completely different than, let's say, a Pursuit. Some of the Grady Whites are going to be completely different than the Regulators. So it really depends on the type of boat, but this is just to kind of give you my take on where they fall. In that mid-tier, Scout boats, Key West, Sea Hunt, Skeeter, Pathfinder, Robalo, Tidewater. In that value category, Sea Pro, Mako, Sportsman, which is kind of in that mid to value range, Carolina Skiff, Sailfish, Twin V, and Sea Fox are, hey, you're going to get a lot of size for your money, but in order to hit that level of price, they've had to drop some of the construction durability down. It may not be as stout of a boat. They may not use as strong of hardware. They may not use the top of the line build practices to build that boat. And yet, for your needs, it may be perfectly safe, it may be perfectly acceptable, and you can have that boat for 15 years if you take care of it, and you're going to have a great time. Here's the good thing, and we'll talk about this in just a moment, is they're all going to use similar motors, which makes up, in some cases, a third to half of the value of the boat, depending on the motors that you're putting on them. So I would love to hear your take on brands that you've owned. So how would you rank a brand? And I would prefer it if you've owned. I don't want your opinion about what you think, but if it's a brand that you own, put the year, the make, and the model, and then kind of your opinion, your experience, and how you would rank it. I would love to see that in the comments down below so that we can share some real-world experience with folks that are out there. So what are some things to look for? Is it that top quality? Is it sort of that mid-level, or is it the value model? And what are some decisions that you need to make when you're looking at a center console? Well, the first one goes to how you're going to use the boat, and that's the dead rise of the boat. So that dead rise is the angle of the bottom of the boat. So it can have a very steep dead rise, or it can have a very shallow dead rise. And here's the point. Is the dead rise that's very sharp is going to be great for offshore, running in rough chop. It's going to slice through the water, and it's going to give you a smoother ride. The flat bottom boat is going to give you a much rougher, harder ride, and yet it's going to be better in shallower waters, and it's going to be a more stable platform for fishing. It's not going to be as tippy. If you think of that V that knifes through the water, when you're sitting fishing, it's going to, if a wave comes or if you're rocking the boat, it's going to be a lot more tippy as it adjusts on that V, that dead rise. Now, the dead rise is going to vary from the bow to that midship to the transom, and so there's going to be a different dead rise. Typically, when you see the dead rise in a brochure or on a website, it's going to be the transom dead rise that they're reporting to you. But there's also different angles as they adjust that hull design based on the performance characteristics they're trying to get out of that boat. The other thing when it comes to the bottom of the boat is how do they design, and are they using lifting strakes? It's those little kind of stair-step looking things on that top right picture. That's going to give you different handling characteristics where you get up on plane faster. It's going to hold tighter in the turns. It kind of gives a little stability to the performance of the boat. So you want to look at all those things based on how you're going to boat and what's important to you. Do you want aggressive dead rise, or do you want that flat bottom? Do you want the heavy duty lifting strakes, or are you going to be doing a lot of performance? And talk to the manufacturers, or talk to the dealers about why do the manufacturers do it this particular way, and how is it going to impact me based on how I'm going to use the boat. Next, we had talked about this in the first one, but the Ttop or the Bimini top. Now, the Ttop is going to be much more suitable for fishing. Gives you some shade, covers that center console, gives you a little bit of shade, but it gives you great fishability. Because that Ttop just covers the center of the boat, there's no straps hanging down, there's no poles hanging down. So when you're fishing, you can cast, and that Ttop's not going to be in the way as much. You can also put those rocket launcher rod holders on it. There's some storage up in that Ttop. Gives you a sort of a place to hang on as you're heading out to your fishing spot and some rough chop. Those Ttops are really great suited for fishing, if you're going to do any fishing at all. The Bimini top is going to give you more shade, and you can pull it off completely if you want to run it without that top. So that's a big decision. It's really difficult to add a T-top and do it right, because when you mount that T-top, they're actually can bolt it when they're doing it early in the process, and they can do it so that they can backplate it and make it much sturdier. Okay, so that's a decision that's best made early in the process before you buy the boat than doing an add-on, okay? Now, the next thing you want to look at, which is going to determine value to quality, are the live wells and the water system that's on the boat, whether it's a raw water washdown, a bait well, a live well pump, freshwater washdown, whatever the case may be. Here is why. Because the pump system can be very complicated, and it's also, portions of it are under the deck of the boat, so very difficult to get to, can be difficult to maintain as you're opening compartments and going through little hatches and service ports to get access to some of the pumps and some of the plumbing. The better quality builders do a better job in sort of the plumbing and have fewer, I'll call them mistakes or errors in the build process, because these boats are very much handmade. They're handcrafted, and that can lead, maybe a hose clamp doesn't get tightened down as much. Maybe something gets cut and it's cut a little bit short, and they still use that piece. So there's things that can happen that cause problems. So one of the things that I'm going to encourage if you buy a new boat is to make sure that you test all of the pumps, turn all of the valves on and off, so that you know exactly, one, how the system works, so when you're out on the water, you know how to use it properly. When you're winterizing and putting away for the season, you know how to work it properly. And two, so you know that there's not a leak in some of the plumbing where the water's coming in, and instead of pumping it to the right area, maybe the boat's taking on water, or maybe the valves are messed up and the water's pumping to the wrong device that you're looking for. So those pumps can be, although all you see is the spray nozzle, or all you see is the aerator in the live well, there's a complicated pumping system, and this is just one of the ways that they do a pumping system. There are several others that manufacturers use. The next is storage and compartments. So when you're looking at compartments, yes, the usability of the storage is key, but what about the little details? What type of hardware do they use on the latches? Are they using a rubber seal around the hatches to keep it waterproof? Do they have a little drainage track and drainage so it drains to the proper place in the proper way? And are they done in a way that they're going to work well? All of those things you're gonna see differences between the top quality manufacturers and the value manufacturers. And are they using a good solid grade stainless steel, or are they using a cheaper plastic or a cheaper stainless steel? Are they using heavy duty gas assist struts, or are they using cheaper struts or no struts at all? All of those things may be important to you, may not, but it's important to know to look for it so that you can get the level of boat that is right for you. Next is I'll call it the fishability. It's the layout of the boat. But if you're going to fish the boat, is it going to be suitable for the type of fishing that you're looking to do, and the people that you're going to be fishing with? So if you're going to be doing a lot of fishing, does the bow area have a nice flat level casting platforms for you? Same thing with the rear of the boat. Are you in that stern area, in the transom area, do you have a nice casting platform that's going to be suitable for the type of fishing that you do? And in each of these, they may even convert where you can put a comfort package with cushions, with backrests. You can see on the bottom right picture that one of those is going to flip up into a bench seat, so you've got some extra seating. Is the layout and the design of the cockpit of the boat going to suit the way you're going to use the boat, whether it's hardcore fishing, whether it's just family outings and some comfort, or is it going to be convertible back and forth to each one? Most of the manufacturers are getting really good at doing both. And yet there are certain things that, listen, if you're gonna hardcore fish, you want it this way, and you don't want to give up even anything for that level of comfort for the family, because fishing is your number one priority. And those are the things that you need to look for. Same thing with storage. Do you have good rod storage? Not just a place to put your rod, but is it going to be long enough? Is it easily accessible? Is it going to fit your gear, the type of fishing that you do? All of those things are important. Next is the helm and the electronics. Are you somebody that wants the electronics installed at the factory, and which is typically going to mean that the manufacturer is going to choose the brand of electronics? Or are you happier getting a boat that has blank electronics, and then you can mount exactly what you want, where you want, and how you want it after you buy the boat? There's no right or wrong. It just matters what's important to you, but it's something to think about, because most manufacturers will have a relationship with the electronics company, the stereo company, and there's one, maybe two different options that they offer, and you've got to select that. Where other dealers and manufacturers will say, listen, we're going to leave it blank. We're not going to put any electronics on the boat, and that way you can equip it exactly how you want. And it's important for you to choose the one that's right for you. And then finally, we've got the power. What power are you going to get? Not just horsepower, but also what engine are you going to be happiest with? I did a whole video where we go through each of the outboards. We put Tohatsu in there as well. The only thing I'll say is, as I record this in 2020, Evinrude has stopped the manufacturing of their E-Tech engines. I'm going to encourage you to stay away from the Evinrudes, because one, the resale value is going to drop considerably. Two, you don't know what the serviceability and the parts availability will be in the future, and I think it's just too risky based on the experience that you've seen as other players in the marine industry have closed down a brand. It just makes it very difficult going forward. So if you have the option to buy new, I'm going to recommend you watch that video on outboard, and you choose accordingly based on the advice there. So I'd love to hear what other advice that you have for center console buyers is as it relates to luxury and quality, that mid-level and value. And it's going to depend on how you use the boat, but I would love to hear, one, the type of boat that you actually own, year, make, and model, how you used it, where you used it, and then what you liked about it, what you didn't like, the experience that you had personally. And I would love to have you comment so we can share that information with others that are watching this video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, we're always doing new videos. If you're in the market to buy a boat, pick up that Boat Buyers Secret Weapon Toolkit. It's free at boatbuyerssecretweapon.com/toolkit. YouTube's recommended a couple videos for you, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care, everybody.